What is anti-bias?
Anti-bias is the practice of inclusion, which accepts that all people are of value and should be respected.
Following an anti-bias curriculum in an early childhood educational setting has the outcome of creating secure, respectful, reciprocal relationships that value diversity among people.
We don't want to play with you. You look different.
How many times have you seen this happen in your classroom? How did you deal with it? And what will you do the next time it happens?
At an early age, children have begun to construct a sense of self, of belonging, gender, and racial identity. If children are exposed to stereotyping, prejudice, and discriminatory practices, they will absorb these and, unless guided otherwise, reflect and practice them in their world.
Hi.
Hello.
Here's the book.
Well, thank you.
What's the matter with that lady, Mommy?
Oh, shh, it's not polite to point. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
Denial can create a deep-seated fear of the differences we find in others. That's why the first step in the ABC, the anti-bias curriculum, is acknowledgement of those differences.
What are the goals to an anti-bias approach? The goals of an anti-bias curriculum include developing children's identities and self-esteem, helping children feel comfortable with difference, creating awareness of bias and stereotypes, and providing children with the tools to respond appropriately to bias.
Children are capable of understanding a lot of these things. Sometimes we think are too complicated for them. We're willing to go out and explain, how a butterfly goes through metamorphosis and all these rather complicated scientific processes that I don't fully understand as an adult. But we're not willing because we say it's too hard for children to understand some of the relationships that go on between people. And to me, it's exactly the same thing, and it's sort of validation, for the point that if we begin to do that with children, they will understand, they can understand, because it's relevant to what's going on in their own lives. They don't understand if it's an abstraction, if it's someplace far out, but most of those things happen to them in their lives. They see their friends made fun of for wearing glasses, for being Chinese, for whatever it is, so they know that's happening in their lives, and the point is to connect to that. And they've had their own rejections too.
Anti-bias is an active approach to the identification and challenges of prejudice and discriminatory practices in relationships between people. Children are not born being prejudiced, they develop it.
The early care and education setting, in collaboration with the home environment, create a learning atmosphere in which children experience valuing each other's knowledge and contributions, trusting each other, communicating freely and respectfully with each other, sharing insights and perspectives, and engaging in shared decision-making.
An anti-bias approach is very hard at first. It's probably because we're not used to talking about issues with children, that we're not used to being honest with children. We're not used to letting children know that it's okay to talk about people that are different from them, or to explain why a person can't do a particular thing or why something is different. And you have to really start with yourself.
Where does bias come from?
Bias can occur when individuals have incorrect or not enough information, emotional stress, time pressures, difficulty adapting to a new social culture, lack of established support system, language and/or communication barriers.
Being who I am and how I grew up in this society, I know that for some children it's so hard that it's okay to be who you are. And I think that with 2-year-olds, I give them a real good feeling about who they are and that it's okay to ask questions. I think some of the most beautiful things that happen is when a child is crying and another child that's very, very different will come up and just be very tender and loving. And then they're not scared. And I think that's what we have to teach kids, not to be scared.
What are some indicators of bias? Indicators of bias include refusal to cooperate, discouraging others' involvement, and acting on assumptions about people and groups.
I want to see every child be able to develop their fullest potential, and the existence of bias in our society does not allow that to happen. And so by having an anti-bias approach, I think we truly achieve the aims of early childhood education, which is to empower each child to be fully who they can be. Ain't you got a right? Ain't you got a right?